So one day while I was streaming Guilty Gear Strive Ranked and talking about playing a different game to take a little break from my grind, an incredibly cool individual stopped by my chat and sent a message telling me to try out Limbus Company. And at first, I was a little skeptical about giving it a shot for a few pretty big reasons. The first reason was because I've literally never heard of this game before, so the only thing I had to go off of was what this enthusiastic chatter was telling and describing to me. And the second reason was because from his description, it already didn't sound like a game I would like, since I'm not the hugest fan of visual novels, mainly because I'm not a big fan of reading. But since I didn't really have any other games that I felt like playing at the time, I figured I might as well give it a shot. And little did I know, this game would be a very life-changing experience for me. But before we get into the video, if you want to catch any of my content live, I stream right here on YouTube and on Twitch at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time every day, so make sure to stop by and say hi. After the game finally finished downloading completely, I was excited to try out the game, and then it just decided to close itself immediately. Alright guys, alright, I guess we played Limbus Company, guys. We beat Limbus Company. I reopened the game and found myself in the middle of a bunch of emo kids named Wolf, Lion, and Panther. I'm not sure why they are important, but all I knew was that they were bad, and I seemed to be missing my head since it was replaced by a clock of sorts. And as of right now, I couldn't seem to remember anything at all, not even my own name. But one thing was for sure, the people I was surrounded by were definitely not your friendly neighborhood garage band. They were a lot more bloodthirsty. But luckily for me, they were standing in the middle of oncoming traffic. Ooh, they're about to pay quite the hefty price for the wrong turn. Like the spirit of an alcoholic Asgore, a vehicle came in and ran over one of the bad guys, taking them out with ease. But after that, a pretty white-haired woman stood before me and told me to think about the stars for some reason, which then gave me a Jimmy Neutron-style brain blast, summoning 5 more people out of thin air, who all introduced themselves to me. And now with my new companions Ishmael, Yisong, Rodion, Gregor, Otis, and Faust, there was some hope of me finally getting out of this awful situation. And after they explained that I was their boss and they work for me now, I got thrown right into my first ever combat. And the combat system in this game is actually really cool. From my understanding, you use the attack tokens and collect all these different colors that all add to your resources. But I don't really know what they actually do, and I don't really know what they're all called, but I think there's like maybe 6 or 7 of them. This is so fucking stupid. But even though I tried my best in the combat, I still ended up losing, and as I watched everyone in my team get McFisted, I alone had to stand before my enemies, awaiting a pretty similar fate. But luckily for me, there was somebody lurking in the shadows this entire time. The red-eyed figure made quick work of the baddies that killed my crew, though we now had one small problem. My whole team was dead. So what was I supposed to do? It's not like I can bring them back to life or anything. We only need a little time to rewind. Oh, wow. I guess I can. Anyways, now that I've unlocked the ability of necromancy, I could finally bring back my fallen friends, with the downside being I feel like my entire body is in a blender being exploded by a bomb while also being crushed and stabbed in every cell of my body all at once as I resurrect them. But now that I was finally in the vehicle with Pink Eye Pete, it was time for me to meet the rest of my crew, which I honestly really liked this part because it introduced me to the characters in a really cool way by giving me a summary or a little background on them to give me an idea of what their personalities and traits were. Like for example, Ryoshu, it mentions she's a chain smoker and doesn't like senselessly killing people because she doesn't deem it as artistic, and it also mentions at the bottom to be careful with her so she doesn't end up resenting me. And after I met the crew, I thought the prologue would finally be over, but I ended up having to do a couple more tutorials, and honestly, so far I wasn't really all into the game. The first part was very long and boring for me, and I just really didn't think the game was for me, but regardless, I pressed forward and told myself if chapter 1 wasn't good, I could just drop the game and forget about it completely and just go back to doing what I normally do. I decided that I would play one last level before I got off for the night and found that the people who are my employees or comrades or, well, whatever they are, they don't really get along all that well, which I think is really weird because I thought they were supposed to be like my soldiers or something. But regardless, after I finished that level, I turned in for the night and decided I would pick it up another time to complete chapter 1. On my next stream, I opened up Limbus Company and jumped right into chapter 1, where we entered this pretty rundown looking town while we searched for someone who we would be working with for this next mission. and after fighting a couple of goons who jumped us, we met up with this girl named Yuri, and for the time being, she would be accompanying us as we traveled to the entrance of an underground lab of sorts. And as she traveled with us to the next location, she ended up bonding with our little bus of sinners, and honestly, I thought she was really cool too. Surely nothing bad is gonna happen to her on this next mission, right? Anyways, after we got close to where we needed to be, we were stopped by some people with like weird bug body attachments, kind of like how Gregor has, which I also wasn't quite sure what that was all about, but they weren't as friendly to their buggy brethren as I thought they would be, so our team had to squash them real quick. And when we got to where we needed to be, we were met with 2 other people who would be joining us on our journey into the lab, a wonderful and cheery lady named Aya, and some like other guy named Herpes, and honestly, from the first moment I met him, I hated his guts. Just something about him, it made me dislike him with a burning passion. Regardless of my feelings, our little team delved into the lab slowly, working our way deeper to uncover its secrets and find something called a golden bow. We also learned about something called the encapsulin rush, and it's similar to something like the gold rush from back in 1848, when people went to California to try and hit it big by finding a lot of gold, and this lab was no different. It was an absolute treasure trove, or at least according to the people by the name of fixers and whatever syndicates there were in the game. We eventually stumble across a group of roach people feasting on what I can only assume is a Baja Blast Mountain Dew, and this is where we find out the reason why Gregor was so uneasy about entering this place and talking to other bug people, because it turns out Gregor used to be a general who served in a war and got off the hook somehow or something like that. I wasn't quite sure, but I'm sure we would be able to find the answer to that question as we explored more. I also wanted to mention another cool thing I really liked about this game is that the final level of each chapter is like a dungeon with like 3 levels, so you go through a handful of areas and get a huge chunk of story, sort of like a grand finale to the chapter that ties up most loose ends and answers a handful of questions that seem important. Although there were a lot of levels that didn't really contribute to the story at all. Like, sure, one fight would add on to it, but there was also just a lot of other levels that didn't really do anything but give me a combat sequence. But when I got to this weird demon looking thing, I was introduced into a completely different type of combat system that was also really cool, but this one I have no clue how it works at all, so I'm not even going to try and explain it. As we continued to venture deeper into the dungeon, I had decided to start talking about my necromancy magic.
배에 구멍이 쑥 났는데 못 죽고 되살아나지면 그게 더 끔찍하잖아? 아니다. 배가 뚫린 거면 운이 좋은 거지. 몇 초 안에 죽으니까.
Huh? Wait. Up and she's dead. She is a goner in seconds. A tendril erupts from the wall and penetrates Aya's abdomen in an instant.
전투 준비.
I mean, as they say in Rome, be careful what you wish for, it might come true. And in this case, it's in the form of a tendril in the gut. Anyways, this was my first ever boss fight the game had given me, and honestly, it was a pretty good one. A giant plant bug looking thing that looked freaky as hell was a pretty cool idea, and although it looked really cool, the boss was actually really easy. But you could definitely tell it was a tutorial boss even without the obvious tutorial pop-ups. And after our crew beat up that overgrown plant monster, we get a little more information on what an abnormality is. And after Otis flatters my intelligence, we learn that all abnormalities, after being defeated, turn into an egg, and after some time it will come back, so it's basically never gonna die, it can only be contained. But as we enter the second floor of the dungeon, we run into another bug person, and this time his entire head is replaced by a bug head, and claims that Gregor is a deserter and a murderer since he killed his own former comrades. And of course, the only way we were going to get around this guy is if we killed him. So after a not so long fight, we moved deeper into the lab, and as we were about to reach the 3rd floor, somebody decided to show their true colors.
최대한 천천히 호흡하세요. 호키스 씨, 왜?
나야말로 물어보자 유리.
See, I knew I hated this guy. I didn't even know that he was a bad dude until now, but I knew I hated him. I knew I hated this guy just by principle. On principle, I hated him.
별 기대도 안 하고 들여놓은 짐짝 같은 사람한테 가뜩이나 비싼 물건을 축낼 만한 사실을 왜 알려야 하지? 냉정하게 말하면 우리 사무실에 네가 발을 들인 것도 놀라운 거야. 아야는 널 귀엽게 봐서 챙겨주려고 했을지는 몰라도 지금은 죽었는데.
비겁한 새끼. 그러고 살고 싶냐?
해결사에게 비겁이라니 되도 않는 말을 하네. 붉은 시선님이 데리고 다니는 이들이길래 누군지나 보려고 했더니 제대로 된 도구나 정보도 없이 여길 기어들어오는 미친놈들이었을 줄이야.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I knew from the start he was a bad guy. I'm pretty good at guessing, but luckily for us, Yuri could use Aya's gas mask since Aya's kind of not with us anymore, and I could revive the rest of the sinners, so we made it out alive. And after that close call, we found a person with this weird like stone mask helmet thing on, asking for our IDs to declare a winner, since when a handful of the employees got trapped down in this lab, they had to send out a sacrifice every now and then to keep the abnormalities at bay. But it sounded like the plan didn't work out so well, since, you know, people tend to not want to die. And after we killed off all the Stonehead people, we fought a weird like tombstone thing, and then we proceeded deeper to the final floor of the dungeon. And as we entered it, we ended up walking right into a war zone. And I'm not really sure how, but we somehow landed ourselves in the middle of a battlefield, and it was specifically the war that Gregor was a part of, so it was almost as if we went back in time. As we started exploring this floor, a different bug person named Toma came up behind Gregor and saluted to him, asking if we needed help getting to the front lines, and of course we declined the offer, but still found ourselves in combat. And after that fight, we learned about Gregor's struggles with his newfound bug arm when he first got it, and how he felt like he was stuck in a never-ending nightmare because of it. And after that flashback, we saw Toma again, and he asked the same question like he did the first time, although he looked a little more gross and a little more buggy this time. And as we kept diving deeper into Gregor's past, we learned about how people hated him after the war, even though it was already over, because he was a part of K-Corp, I think? I'm not super sure, I might have missed something somewhere, but we also learned how he didn't feel the same as he did when he was put on a poster, and how he felt they made him look disgusting. After that flashback, we knew that Toma was about to come up and ask the same question, but this time we saw him with like maggots coming out of his back, but before a giant hand came down from the sky and crushed him. And after Toma got crushed, a barrage of hands started coming down trying to crush every bug and also all the sinners. And the sinners dodged with all their might, but the barrage of hands just wasn't gonna let up. So Gregor came up with the idea to let the hand hit us in hopes it would end this illusion. After his idea, all the sinners gathered around skeptically and waited for the hand to come slam down upon them, and after they got crushed, we were back in the real world with nothing but a golden apple in front of us. It honestly was a pretty easy combat, and after we defeated it, it came time to collect the golden bow. Yuri, the bus's favorite visitor and honorary member of the Limbus Company, walked forward to retrieve what we came to get, and before anyone could do anything, she was gone, eaten by a swarm of maggots that just popped out of the apple in an instant. Gregor tried as hard as he could to save her, but if we wanted a chance at saving Yuri, we had to kill this thing before it digested her.
목적이 있었지.
Or can I restart the battle and then save her? God damn, bro. Oh, it heals itself. What the hell?
먼지를 떨어내줘.
Man, that's so lame.
달려라 로신한테! 정의는 승리한다!
So what would have happened if I won the coin flip, though?
나의 손으로 잘라낼 수 있다면
God, she's dead.
믿어. 죄. 지키지.
머리통을 박살내주마.
Damn. Nice.
나의 손으로 잘라낼 수 있다면
Frick, dude, he's got so much HP left. Did he just kill Otis? Okay, no, Otis is fine. She's staggered though, frick. It's okay. It's okay, I've got this. 91%. 20%.
머리통을 박살내주마.
Damn.
달려라 루신한테.
Just kinda hoping I get the extra damage. I'm getting the fatal hits. Let's go. I don't know what that does, but you know, sure. It didn't go up at all.
나의 손으로 잘라낼 수 있다면
Did it kill it? The mass of maggots falls apart in the hail of silent screams. And after finally defeating the rotted apple, all we were met with was the head of Yuri. And though Gregor tried, pleaded, and begged, the sad reality was Yuri was dead. And it was only solidified by the fact a different crew rocked up and decapitated the apple. We got to meet our rivals, a group that also wanted the golden bows, and we also got to meet Gregor's super hot mom. Like, holy smokes, dude, she is so hot. But regardless, some dude made us like black out, and when we got back to the bus, Virgilius was not super happy with our performance in the slightest. Our entire group got scolded, and after that, the bus was silent. And let me tell you, after chapter 1, whew, my feelings on this game did a total 180. The story was honestly really engaging and I was super into it, so I decided that I'd play chapter 2 since I was low-key kind of obsessed with the game now. But it's time to bring my goated Otis to my Otis the Goatus, per se, into the light of day. For the start of chapter 2, our crew made our way to a pawn shop to wait for some more teammates like last time so we could tag team getting a golden bow with the hopes that this time we actually get it. While we wait, we check out what the shop is selling before we end up meeting our new comrades Effie and Sode, and my honest opinion on them is I'll just let you see for yourself. I hope this guy dies. Anyways, both of them handed us a fancy sheet describing what our plan for this mission would be.
발끝에도 못 미치지만.
Thank you, Otis. Thank you. Convinced by Ishmael's accommodations, I opened the envelope and carefully read the rundown of the operation. Put simply, the objective of the mission could be summed up as follows. Operation Reach the Top Floor. What really motivated the plan was the first place prize up for grabs in today's table game. According to the briefing document, the only way to access the area containing the golden bow is to win the competition on the casino's top floor. The game will bring together 4 syndicates that jointly bid on the casino. And of those 4, the name we are to take is that of the infamous Ting Tang Gang. Yep, that's right, past me. The Ting Tang Gang leader was put to sleep by the 2 shitsticks known as Effie and Sode, so we were good to go in his place to get the golden bow for ourselves. Although, while we were shopping, some random guy from the gang we allegedly are standing in for gets owned by Don Quixote because he was like being a bad guy and whatever, which only gets us into more trouble with all the other gang members of the Ting Tang Gang. But we make quick work of them and make our way to the casino, painting the pavement red with their blood as we go. And once we get inside, we're surrounded by slot machines and bright lights, and honestly, the game says that I accidentally hit the slots, but personally, I think it should have gone, Dante ran at full speed to play on the machine, hitting the jackpot in one go since he's the luckiest man in the world. But since we hit the jackpot so fast, it rose suspicion among the staff, and it didn't help that there was such a thing as cheating with something called a lucky sticker, so yeah, we ended up throwing hands with them. And after that fight, Ryoshi stepped up to the plate looking really pissed. She asked Yisang for his dagger for some reason and threw it right at the chandelier above our enemies, and after a moment of suspense, it fell right on top of them. and I never knew that Ryoshu was a performer. But after we beat the rest of the baddies into a bloody pulp, we made our way to floor 2, which was full of a bunch of mariachis for some reason. And then we found out that these people will not allow you to be sad while playing on their floor, and if you are sad, they make you play maracas as they escort you out of their area. But nevertheless, they were still a problem for us since we still couldn't get past unless we knocked their socks off with a killer dance routine. Yet none of the sinners knew how to dance, or so I thought. The guy that I always seem to forget about, Sinclair, being the clutch master he is, puts his heart and soul into a maraca dance, which managed to win over the hearts of all the mariachis, allowing us to move on to the 3rd floor. And this floor was the complete opposite of the other place, but most of it was just kinda combat and them insulting us and threatening us. But luckily for us, Ryoshu is quite gruesome when it comes to that kind of thing, which somehow manages to get us to the next floor. I don't really know why this one was here. Once we made it to the top floor, we sent Raja in as our pro gambler since she apparently has a lot of experience. Although she has to deal with 3 pretty intimidating opponents, but she sits down anyways and then they start. The game is afoot, or well, in this case, the game is poker. But when Raja itches her arm, wannabe Wally over here thinks she's cheating with luck stickers, so he calls her out. But she decides to put a wager on it. Whoever loses is out of the game. The tin can next to her agrees, thinking it's easy money, and man, let me tell you, she is a good bluffer, because even I thought the game was over here. But when she lifted her sleeve, there was no lucky sticker to be found, and Box Boy got turned into a flat Stanley. After that whole ordeal, the white-haired guy named Sonia folded since his cards were bad, but the mariachi lady was a sore-ass loser, so we had to kick her ass before we could make our way to the Golden Bow. And as we took the elevator, we entered the mines, and well, ever since I was a child, I yearned for the mines, because I am Steve. We ended up finding a bunch of slaves trying to pay off their debt by mining while those black trenchcoat dudes watched over them. We ended up having to beat them up before we find our way to these trash robots that were pretty much invincible, and they had this really interesting question that they needed to ask us. And you got to the factory in time. Huh, this looks like some kind of toy plant. The sinners comment on the huge mechanism. Ah, come behold this curiosity. The sinners pointed to a control panel with several buttons attached to it. Do you love the city you live in? Press the button to stop. Sure. Continue augmentation. You must become strong. Please proceed with the input. Do you love the city you live in? What should you press? Yes. Proceed. Continue. You must become strong. Please proceed with the input. Do you love the city that you live in? What should you press? Okay. Continue augmentation. You must become strong. Please proceed with the input. Do you love the city you live in? What should you press? Yes, I do love the city I live in. Continue augmentation. You must become strong. Please proceed with the input. Do you love the city you live in? What should you press? I do. You know what? I do. Out of here. After a short notice, the factory exploded with a massive bang. You managed to stop it from working, but the sinners were caught up in the explosion as well. Looks like you should get out of here first, don't you think? All the cyborgs have lost their upgrade factory pass. All identities. That's awesome. We eventually made it to a wannabe Elsa castle, and after we entered it, Raja resonated with the Golden Bow, and we got to see her past, where everyone in her town was really poor and being taxed for everything they pretty much owned. It was so bad that people ended up making a group to fight against it, and although that sounds really good, it didn't really seem to matter because they never really did anything anyways. So one night she decided to take it into her own hands and go to one of the rich people in her town and ask for money. And when she didn't give any, she showed them how shiny her axe was by shoving it in between their eyes. And after we got to see what Raja's past was like, the building we were in started to move for some reason. I don't know anymore, but we ran as fast as we could while McFlounder-poundering everything that got in our way. And once we made it to the exit, we were able to snatch the Golden Bow. After our gone wrong mission turned into a successful retrieval, we returned to the bus, and that's where chapter 2 kind of ends. To be honest, chapter 2 was a lot more on the funny side compared to Gregor's depressing backstory, but it was still pretty good. Although it's definitely not my favorite of all time, since there wasn't really anything I felt was really notable other than Raja's backstory, of course. With that being said, I was told that season 1 was the first 3 chapters, and I figured if I already played 2, I might as well play the final one as well. So I decided to play it on my next stream, and then make my final decision on what my opinion of the game was after that. They're extra thick, dude. Extra thick. Just like Radya. I was excited to play Chapter 3 since some people in my chat and Discord server, which you should totally join by the way, were hyping it up as a good finale for my video on the game. But as we made our way to the next location, while most of our crew was ready to crack down on business and retrieve the golden bow, Sinclair was kinda wussing out on us. He was white as a ghost and shaking as if it were below zero since Virgilius mentioned K-Corp, so clearly this place meant something to Sinclair, I just didn't know how yet. We all made our way to this like TSA area where we were going to check in so we can make our way through to the next place, because apparently this area specifically, Border Patrol was a lot tighter than the last two places, but as long as we followed Virgilius' script and stuck to just saying that we were here for work while also showing them our IDs, everything should be fine, right? But unfortunately for us, Don Quixote decided to play hero and smash a glass wall to save a child from being separated from their parents. But all this led to was the whole place getting locked down and soldiers moved in to take care of us pretty quickly, leaving Virgilius beyond displeased. And after fighting a couple waves of these guards, it seemed like they weren't gonna let up, especially since they had these fancy healing bullets that would fix up any type of wounds that we left on them. And just when I thought we were gonna have to fight another wave of guards, some random dude named Siegfried came in like the wind to save the day while Don Quixote fangirled all over him. But after we finally made it through TSA, we met up with Effie and Soda again, finding out that they would be joining us on our mission again as assistants. Yay. But this time they didn't prepare a plan that we had to follow to a T, unlike at the casino. And once we got back to the bus, tensions were super high because Virgilius wasn't going to let what Don Quixote did slide at all. He called her out immediately and scolded her, and while he was doing it, he made sure she knew who was in charge while he crushed her shoulder beneath his foot. And once he was finished, for the first time, Don Quixote, my favorite character in the entire game, was completely silent. After a while, the bus stopped again, and as the sinners got off, we found these White Knight cultist fellows from a cult by the name of Nail and Hammer, who declared us as heretics after my team wouldn't hand over my head on a silver platter to them. But after we pummeled them, we got back on the bus and discussed what happened with Virgilius while Sinclair had a big baby meltdown. He kept going on about how some lady's behind all this without ever really telling us who she was, other than the fact that he hated her guts and how he knew she was waiting for him. We eventually made our way to this burning town that was decorated in the spirit of Christmas met junkyards, since instead of ornaments, the trees were covered in prosthetics and a lot of internal organs. It was quite gruesome, but before we could get too comfortable, the town's radio suddenly went off. We finally find out about who Sinclair has been talking about this whole time, and her name is Kroger, you know, like the grocery store. And it seems Sinclair was right, she was definitely waiting for him, so instead of turning tail and running, we had to help our boy overcome his fear of women by going to his house, which is a really weird spot to be waiting for someone, but you know, whatever, man. But before we could leave, a masked figure that was 100% Jin's long-lost cousin named James appeared, and he was a lot less artistic about the number 4. All he wanted to do was remove anyone with a prosthetic or mechanical parts, deeming them impure. And after a really weird fight with this Ryoshu I borrowed, our crew made our way to where Sinclair lived, but only after we got this epic growth moment from Sinclair. 10 out of 10, brah, keep it up, and I might actually end up respecting you, Sinclair. One day, little bro. We made it to the outside of Sinclair's house, and it was truly a sight to behold. Tons of bodies were nailed into the ground as if they were crucified or used to send a message to people who had prosthetics. And then we saw her for the first time, the villain of this story arc, and let me tell you, whoever this woman's barber is needs to be shot. Like, low-key, if my hair was this messed up, I would also crash out on people too. At this point, I don't even think the prosthetic thing is even real. I'm pretty sure it's just a cover-up for her just wanting to murder her hairstylist for giving her a bad haircut, since it was so atrocious, even a blind person could tell it looked bad, and they can't even see. And upon closer inspection of the spikes, we found out that Effie was impaled on one of those spikes, which is totally odd to us. I mean, it's, oh no, he's dead. What a shame. We find out that Kroger is the leader of the Nail and Hammer cult, and she is known as the one who grips, and she is definitely gripping us really hard by somehow sending back Guido, her best soldier, to come and get rid of us. But before she can leave, Sinclair makes sure to let her know that he's gonna grip her, though she denies him of that privilege by just leaving. We end up kicking Guido's ass, and Sinclair goes full crash out mode. He's on a rampage until we had to calm him down, which Don Quixote, after not speaking this entire time, walks over to Sinclair and punches him in the face. But Sinclair wanted revenge for what Kroger did to him and his family, so we pressed on into the house and made our way to the basement, or it wasn't really a basement since it was more like a tunnel. And as we follow the trail deeper, we find that N-Corp, or where Kroger's group was from, had a base of operations set up in the location, so we had to fight our way through if we wanted to move on to the next area. We stumble across Sode, who isn't looking too hot as she is bleeding everywhere on the ground, and when Guido shows up to fight us for a third time, Sode threatens us at gunpoint. And as Guido comes to choke me out, it seemed that things weren't looking so good for me until Sode shoots Guido instead of my clockhead itself. Sode told us to keep going and leave her to fend them off all alone, sacrificing herself for the greater good, as some would say, but personally I just call that bad karma because she sucks. But as we keep going deeper into the dungeon, we find knights that were transformed into these like disfigured blood beasts because they were like corroded or something. I am not super sure why they transformed, but I assume it was something to do with their hatred for people with prosthetics, and it probably also had something to do with the golden bow. But we still managed to turn the blood monsters into a blood puddle in the end, leading us farther into this large dungeon. This time, there were actually side paths that gave us extra stuff, so I was pretty hyped about that since I always love being able to find more and learn about the story more in games by taking different routes. And after defeating these weird snake knights, we were on to the final floor, and once we entered, we were greeted by a pile of flesh, and at the top of it, Kroger stood before us with the golden bow behind her. Once we made it to the top, Sinclair resonated with it, and we learned about his past, and if you check the VOD, I made fun of him the entire time and made it seem like it was a yaoi story. But his backstory is actually really sad. He wanted to fit in with the other kids so bad and told them about things he wasn't really supposed to. He also hated how, as time went on, his lively family dinners seemed to turn silent as his family slowly replaced their body parts with prosthetics. And when he talked to Kroger about his struggles with the prosthetics, she also agreed with him on how much she also hated prosthetics. Eventually, Kroger wanted to see something in Sinclair's basement, and since Sinclair has no backbone, like literally at all, he agreed to it and took her there just to find a monster hiding underneath his house. And after everything was said and done, he went to get the key to his basement back from Kroger, which she handed it over without a fuss, saying she didn't really need it anymore. But after that, she did the unthinkable and murdered all of Sinclair's family that night. He ended up blacking out and woke up in the middle of nowhere with nobody but a kid named Damien, who I kind of skipped over since I didn't really think he was important for this bit. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, we finally made it to the top of the mountain, and as Sinclair demanded his revenge, we entered combat with Kroger, and suddenly, the boss fight didn't matter because my ears were being blessed by an amazing soundtrack. Anyways, my first attempt at the boss was kind of bad since I didn't really know what was happening, but my second attempt, well, I'll just let you see for yourself.
악인들을 해치우세라.
그렇지. 둘, 셋. 바로 그거다, 딸램. 쳐다보기엔 우리는 멋있는 거 알아가지고.
Alright. Nice. Shit. Sinclair, you gotta do better than that, bro.
얼마만큼은 못하지만 나도 녹이면서 뵐 수 있거든. 재밌겠는데? 쳐다보기 우리는 못하는 건 알아가지고.
And we get the sword.
그쯤 해줬으니 포장지 한번 벗겨야겠군.
Okay.
그렇지.
Hopefully we get burn blades here. We do.
바로 그거다, 딸름. 필살. 바이올렛 브레이크 슬램.
Damn it.
자.
Nice. Much damage.
그거 봐주마.
쳐다보긴 우리는 멋있는 건 알아가지고.
Shit, bro. Damn it. Nice. Come on. Keep the pressure. Thank you. I can't stop that. Oh my god.
그거 봐주마.
쳐다보긴 우리 엄마 멋있는 건 알아가지고. 그렇지. 바로 그거다, 딸름.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
재밌겠는데? 그렇지. 바로 그거다, 딸름.
Nice. Oh. Well. Damn.
거긴 킬존이다. 몰라 열받어. 이러면 아무것도 못하죠.
Nice. I made it.
거긴 킬존이다.
Yeah, I'm trying my hardest to focus, man.
재밌겠는데? 이제 갖고 놀기 틀렸다.
Dude, I need her to pop demon mode so bad. There we go. Come on. Nice.
머리통을 박살내주마.
Please, Otis, I need you to pop for him. Damn it. Not enough purple yet. Nice. Nice.
자.
Come on. Come on. Shoot. It's okay. It's okay.
오랜만에 숨 좀
There we go.
타는군. 이거 분강 맞지? 야, 필살. 바이올렛.
I need Otis to pop dragon install, bro. Oh my god. Okay. We're fine. Otis did the anti-stagger thing. Favored. I need her to do the favoreds. Struggling. Neutral. I'm gonna need you to hit hard there. Shoot. How much HP do you have? You've got a decent amount.
재밌겠는데?
Come on, Ishmael, please. That's what I'm talking about. Atta girl. Okay, come on. Come on. High numbers. Oh, shit. High numbers. Fuck. You're so right. I actually should have done that. Shoot.
장부를 펼칠 것도
Alright.
없겠고.
Mess him up, Otis. Alright. It's time to go big mommy mode. Take them glasses off.
재밌군.
Okay. You're officially an Evo rep? Nice. I'm almost there. Cromer is breathing heavily. Perhaps it's a side effect of the transformation. Her posture is unstable and her eyes are looking elsewhere. With her focus disrupted, we might be able to land a critical strike. If I ever needed you more than now, Ishmael, I need you now. Let's see it. Ding, ding, ding. Let's go. Soon enough, she let her guard down. Ishmael didn't miss this chance to deliver a devastating blow. That seemed pretty effective. A deep, indelible wound was left on Kroger's body. Could this be it? Cromer, the dreamer of human wholeness, got staggered.
제가 누구 딸인데 이런
Oh
걸
my
못하겠어요.
god. Get him.
자! 그럼 끝이다!
Oh my god. After we defeated her, all the sinners began to slowly melt into the pile of flesh as the golden bow remained at the top of the mountain. This was it for us, fellas. The real end to Limbus. Until Damien, that guy who apparently was unimportant to me, came and saved the day by stopping it, and a crew of medics came in and healed us up, making sure I survived so I could revive the rest of the sinners. And after we made it back to the bus with the golden bow, our team celebrated and Virgilius forgave Don Quixote. He might have a cold heart, but at least he can be nice sometimes. And that was it. I played the first season of Limbus Company, and honestly, yeah, I can see why that chatter glazed this game so much. It had a really engaging story, and the combat was also really freaking good. And I also play this game in my free time now since I found out it's on mobile. And I definitely plan on playing it a lot more, so if you like this type of content, please make sure to like and subscribe. I know this video is a bit longer than my normal videos, but I wanted to make sure I got all the good parts. And with that being said, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I would just like to say thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Stay out of the cold rain, for you a heart made